So thank you very much for the warm welcome. Um, I'm going to kind of just set a little bit of expectation management. I can't answer every question on artificial intelligence, and I can't answer every question on software delivery and its impact within 45 minutes. But hopefully, I can take us on a bit of a learning journey together where we can reflect on how this new technology will impact the various delivery processes and change as a whole. So I think most of my bio has kind of already been covered. Thank you very much. So yeah, I have 30 years of experience in the digital transformation business. I first implemented Agile in 2002. I first spoke about Agile in Colorado in 2005. So I've kind of been with the Agile movement for a long, long time, probably too long to do me any good. I've managed Agile deployments from a team of 3 people trying to get things done in the shadows, up to teams of 400 people with the largest Agile implementation in Europe at its time, one of the first implementations of the scaled Agile framework, whether you like it or not. And kind of latterly, my background is sort of being a futurologist, so being prepared to stick out my neck as to where I think technology is going to go. I'm a co-founder of a startup by myself, Unfold AI, which we brought to market to try and help smaller companies get good quality consultancy and thought leadership around AI and its impact on business. I'm also a cabinet maker, a photographer, an artist, and a local boy living in Northamptonshire. So you're all my peers and friends in the neighborhood. So I'm stealing a leaf from Natasha's presentation. I'd like us to just take a moment to imagine. I want you to imagine you saw an advert in a magazine, on the tube wall, on the train, on a poster, advertising the latest energy drink. That energy drink has been specifically designed to help creators, content writers, software engineers to produce better, faster, stronger code. Let me introduce to you Dun Dun, the energy drink of the future. It will help all your engineers be faster at testing, refactoring, completing their code, writing that ever so tiresome documentation, fixing DevOps multi-deployment. It's like you, but just 40% more. 92% of developers already drink this drink, and they're using it to power up their development, and it's only £1 a can. Question I ask you is, if you saw that and all the evidence was it presented those abilities and those opportunities to you, would you give it a try? Would you be prepared to try kind of Dun Dun? So while reflecting on that, let's put some context as to where AI is with respect to adoption in the world to an extent, but specifically with respect to UK. Yes, Chris, I'd be the first in line to, particularly if it was cherry flavour. So this is Rogers' innovation curve. Rogers wrote this in about the early 60s. I think it might be 1955, 56. And as a curve, it has been repeatedly used to map the implementation of technological changes. Everything from solar panels, colour TV, Walkmans, the iPhone, and lastly, of course, cloud and AI. They all sort of follow this curve, and what we're interested in is the area under the curve. So this is the amount of people that have adopted. It starts at 0 and it adds up to 100%. You start off with innovators, people exploring the new technology. The tools are rough, they're ready. You then progress through early adopters, tech adopters, enthusiasts who are keen to have a go. Then there's a gap called the chasm, which is where some technologies just never make the next step. They just fade into obscurity, a little bit like we all wish X might do now, but unfortunately probably won't. And then if they survive the chasm, they then progress to early majority. Interestingly enough, when you get to the other side of the chasm, if you get to about 25% adoption, then the likelihood is you will go all the way down the curve. It's highly unlikely at that stage that you will fall back into the chasm. You're past the book. You then get through conservatives, late majority, and eventually skeptics and laggards. Now, every technology follows this sort of pattern and has done for 60 or 70 years. All that changes really is the pace to go from innovator to laggard. Sometimes it's quite long. Solar panels taking nearly 40 years. Digital transformation, depending on what you decide as the start point, has taken between 25 and 30 years. Cloud adoption, taken maybe 10 or 12. TikTok, it's taken maybe 4 or 5 years to become a fully mainstream product. So let's just have a look back to the start of AI time, in this case, when ChatGPT came onto the marketplace and came into the sort of the public opinion. That was sort of around January 2023. At that stage, although there was a chat interface, it was chat version 3.5. It had kind of a lot of unpleasant interface features. You had to use it via the playground, but it was there and it could kind of do all the things that you'd expect, and you've seen ChatGPT do now just very early. That was January 2023. We then roll on 6 months. That takes us to July, to the summer, where it had already gained 120 million average daily users worldwide. This was kind of where you started to hear all the messages that AI is done, AI is finished, it's already implemented, it's already everywhere, it's going no further. But the maths and the numbers just don't map onto that. The fact is, even with 120 million users worldwide, it was still deep in early adopters. So I guess the question is, where are we now? So here's the data as of end of September. October's data isn't out as of yet. But if you back solve that maths to the UK, there are about 6.5 million people who have daily use to ChatGPT, version 3.5 or version 4. Now, there will be a few people who use it more often, a few people who use it a little bit less frequently, but that's kind of the average daily usage. Then, of course, you've got things like Claude, Midjourney, and these other tools around the edges, which sort of, you could say increase the numbers a bit or decrease the numbers a bit. But broadly speaking, I think we're at, it's a good proxy. So that gives you a 24% adoption rate in the UK. So back to good old Rogers chart, that puts us just at the start of early majority. Now, my view, and the best view from the data and the various research papers at the moment, is that early majority progression, the next 10 or 12%, will be a little bit slower than the explosive first phase growth, as people get used to how the tools fit into that technology space. But consensus of opinion is that we'll be at about 50% usage of ChatGPT sometime in early 2025, so about 14 or 15 months, probably. And then probably by 2027, we'll be deep into laggard territory. The last half always runs slower than the first half. Do I think that's true? I probably do. There's something like 700 scientific papers being released every week on AI. There's 200 or 300 new tools being released on AI every week. And as of tomorrow, the largest public availability of AI tools in the world is released, which is the release of the Microsoft Copilot in Office suite, which goes to gold general access on the 1st of November. Of course, just because there are these AI tools there, as we'll discuss later in this presentation, that doesn't mean that will unlock the benefits of what AI could provide to you as a change organization, as a change tool and a business, or within software delivery. It just means the tools are available. As with all tools, implementation is really where the excitement occurs. So these are the numbers from an impact perspective. So the best knowledge, and this is from the World Economic Forum, reinforced by Harvard, Stanford, our own government, a survey on LinkedIn, pretty much everybody is in the same numbers, give or take 1% or 2%. 60% of the workforce will be impacted. That 65% is knowledge workers. Knowledge workers is the parlance term for white collar workers, people who earn their money in the service industry by applying mental tasks as opposed to physical labor. So not tradesmen, not contractors. Basically, it's you and me. So that 65% of the workforce is where the change of AI will be predominantly felt. 80% of what they do today by 2025 could be automated. So the impact that's likely to happen is less than what's probably going to happen. And I think Bill Gates phrases that so beautifully when he says, usually for technology, the short-term impact is overestimated, but the long-term impact is underestimated. The probable output of impact will be 40% of everything you do will be either assisted by or automated in conjunction with AI by sometime in 2025, 2026. So if, like me, you're a bit of a data nerd and you do the math on that, simply speaking, that means 2 days of what you're doing today will likely be done either entirely by artificial intelligence or with significant assistance from artificial intelligence by 2026, which is an absolute tremendous amount of impact on the working week and business as a whole, and everything you do and the way you go about the day-to-day task. So having now hopefully given you some perspective on the pace of adoption, where I think we are in the marketplace, and the size of the impact on knowledge workers, of which software delivery is part of that. In fact, it's an intrinsic part of delivering these benefits. Let me talk you through where I think that fits into software delivery and its impact on the software delivery and engineering life cycle. I think it's also worthwhile remembering that a lot of business projects now are using software development professionals to lead process change and change projects. And a lot of the topics we will talk about today are focused on software development, but you should also consider change projects will be impacted in a similar way, in certainly similar areas where those methods are used. Now, I'm aware today I'm speaking to a whole bunch of Agile practitioners, and Agile comes in quite a few flavors these days. Of course, Prince 2, technically speaking, isn't Agile, but it's just worthwhile thinking about methods in software delivery and change as a whole, whichever flavor of popsicle you choose to lean into. Scalable Agile for Enterprise, Scrum, Lean, Scaled Agile, Prince 2, they pretty much all have similar activities, not perhaps sequenced the same way, not the same artifacts, not the same ceremonies, but broadly speaking, they all have sections around ideation, prioritization, estimating, actual delivery, testing, deployment, how to get into maintenance and support, a continuous improvement and review cycle, stakeholder comms engagement, and then the project management catch-all of kind of how the whole thing is organized and how the various stages interconnect to each other. So for simplicity today, I've invented a tiny, simple little model, which looks like this. So broadly speaking, software development lifecycle, it's not just writing code. It's about ideation, feature definition, prioritization of those features, refinement of those features, estimating the effort to achieve it, the code, the test, the deploy, and the project management. Now, obviously, these are all cyclical and they're running waves and they're all interwoven, but broadly speaking, those are the types of activities that you will be performing during software delivery and change. If you just take a step back from that, every one of these basically is a process. And one of the things that we learn in Agile and within Lean, particularly, is that within any process, there's value add and there is non-value add. So, for example, there's wait time while you're waiting for your code to compile. There's that time when you're trying to organize the meeting with the stakeholder who is suddenly in a sales meeting in Edinburgh. There's all of those kind of frictional activities, which although they should be, they should be able to be removed in practical terms, they are not removed. There's the writing up, the workshop, there's the photographing of the flow charts, there's the rediagramming. And we've all developed techniques and approaches to try to minimize those, but we never really have. So if you think about that from an activity point of view, where we need to be thinking about AI and this process is how do we target AI onto maximizing its impact on removing the non-value add functions, leaving the human value, the creative work, which AI is not strong at, to be maximized. How do we focus on the value and remove the non-value? There's a couple of other candidates that are kind of quite interesting targets, which is classically, when you move between stages, you sometimes need to change the format of the input or the output. So whilst we're looking at process, we might also want to look at input and output format in case we can change or improve those at the same time. Now, if you're curious about AI and you're wondering what it can do, then the question we should leap to next is, well, what is AI actually good at? That's such an amorphous topic. But simply, inside, kind of like to really synopse the current use of AI, it's kind of good at these 6 things. It's good at taking a data set and predicting an outcome. Now, there are risks with all predictions and all simulations, but it's an approachable, easy way to do prediction. And it's quite easy to train to make those predictions more and more effective. It's very strong at summarization of complex data into abstractable units that the human being or the next system can comprehend or make use of. It's very strong at extracting information, key points, key data, key information, taking a natural language approach to extracting that data into a more usable format. It's very strong at moving between formats, JSON, XML, CSV, you name it. It's good at those kind of previously complex format translations. It's good at generative data of creating test data, creating attributes, creating and filling in the gaps. It's good at following example formats. It's good at providing that kind of richness. Now, generative data and test data has been a thorn in the side of software delivery for decades. There's never enough environments. There's never enough test data. There's never enough scenarios for the code to be rigorously tested against. So generative data potentially is a really large unlock. And then finally, it can generate code. That code is of variable quality. Indeed, quality is a bit of a variable challenge in all of these tasks right now. But code is a strongly gaining level of capability, not within ChatGPT. You need to reach into a more specialist tool for that. But code is coming on very strongly. So the question is, well, could any of these AI capabilities, prediction, summarization, extraction, format conversion, generative data, code generation, well, which parts of my simple model could it affect? Well, all of them, right? If you think about ideation, whiteboards, post-it notes, Kanban boards, think about prioritization. Again, quite often a very manual process, a lot of moving data around. Actually, one of the big reasons why you need prioritization is capacity is always below demand. If you can radically change demand and supply, then prioritization becomes much easier. Definition, refinement, reformatting between different flavors. These are all things that AI can already, to a greater extent, provide value, particularly around code and test with respect to generating test frameworks and test code. So right now, if this is all new to you, you might be having a bit of a moment thinking, well, if AI is going to do all of this stuff, well then kind of what am I going to do? And I just want to remind you that we've spent 20 years teaching other people how to do change. One of the things that I've discovered from leading change for this period of time is that, ironically, change professionals find change quite hard themselves sometimes. They forget that they can be on the other side of these human feelings. A lot of the tools and technology within AI are fundamentally getting to the human well-being, the human decision of value of what do I do. So right now, or as you're learning or using these tools, or you're figuring out how they're going to apply what you're doing in business or within software delivery, it's okay if you don't believe it. It's okay if you're suddenly excited. It's okay if you're facing fear or uncertainty or you're having a crisis. These are all just natural parts of the change curve that we've been helping everyone else to go through for 20 years. But the reality is, as a knowledge worker, as a software delivery and change professional, it's our turn to be impacted by that change. And actually, my call of arms to you is it's up to you to stand up and lead this change and make this your change, to make this your time, to not be a bystander or a victim, but to actually help everyone to get through this reskill basis. If you think about the original data we talked about, which is that it will affect 80% of knowledge workers, that's potentially changing how 26 million people work in the UK. So right now, you're in a privileged group. You're already experienced change professionals who know how to deal with this. The world and business will be looking for you to once again be prepared to step up and lead this change. But it's okay to remember you're going through a change yourself. So let's just maybe, while I grab a glass of water, answer the question, can it really do these things? And I think some of you might have been using ChatGPT, some of you might have tried this, but I've recorded a couple of short videos which I sort of narrate over whilst they're running. These are really simple examples. And certainly, if you were to kind of get more involved in a more detailed conversation, you would find ways to go much further than these simple examples are starting to show. But let's have a look at those together. So the scenario is I've invented a brand new methodology called innovation using origami. So the idea is I want to build a single page website to encourage people to join my new workshop. So let's start about figuring out what are the elements. So I'm just asking ChatGPT, hey, I'm going to build this new thing. What are the features that my single page website is going to need to promote my course? And how can I promote my course? I'm looking for a 2-stage sales funnel. So we're going to start with some visuals, because I always like visuals when I'm sort of mood boarding and kind of trying to get things right. A couple of hero images will kind of really help get into the zeitgeist. So, okay. First thing, of course, I can't do text and images yet. It's getting much better, but it can't. But you get a flavor of what I'm looking for. Certainly enough for me to lead into the art department and say, kind of more like this, less like that. Now it's pulling out some engineering requirements and some features that I might need to consider. Course is not free. I might need a payment gateway. So not bad, not a bad starter. Actually, I'd like some wireframes so I can kind of get a little bit deeper into the look and feel of it. Now, these are all activities that we might take place in outside of AI every day of every project. This kind of work, what sort of storming, these workflows, this collaborative building of stuff. But what we're doing here is we're getting off a blank page just really quickly. So I wasn't that keen. So I asked for a rework. Now, obviously, I've worked with graphic designers and UX teams for decades. I know, that look on their face when you say, hey, can you just rework that for me? It's not a look you're looking forward to enjoy. So here we are. We've now got to a better, sort of cleaner workplace. So I'm a few minutes in. I mean, you can literally see the runtime. I have run the video at double speed because because I did. I've got some wireframes. I've got some basic features and product features that might allow me to lead into the next conversation as this product owner or the next conversation with the delivery team. So let's see how that goes. So now I'm literally, as you can see, cutting and pasting from the previous chat, a different tool, still in ChatGPT, but now I don't need the image drawing. I want the more capable language tools. So I've literally cut and pasted the images. and the previous call to actions. And I've just asked it to, hey, pull me these into some structured features and product ideas, so I can go into a conversation as a hierarchy with an engineering team. So it's breaking it into epics and stories. Now, clearly, was this going to be a serious working session? We'd go deeper into the functions, we get longer descriptions, but for brevity, in this case, I just kept it simple. So that's quite useful. We've kind of got the rough shape of a set of features and products, but I want to get to quickly. Let's try and answer the, well, what would an MVP look like? What would be the features I would need? And we've all been in these conversations, these awkward conversations of how do I get to what an MVP could be? Well, in this case, let's let AI take the strain on that for me. So I've outlined my objectives that I, as a business user, I want to be able to get to. Now I quite like those in a more structured format for my engineers because I know they love the old gherkin. So let's convert them to gherkin. That's pretty cool. What about some test data? That'd be nice. I think first of all, I'm going to kind of go into a bit of estimating. So I'm going to say that the first feature is a medium complexity. It's a 2-day activity in typical experience for my development teams. Can you sort of give me comparative sizes for the other tools, for the other features? This is a Southeastern service. So I've got those estimates, I've got my runtime. So now, I'm asking for a format reshape to get it into like a ready reckoner so I can go into my sizing and engineering meeting with the team. I've got it nice and summarized. I've got my key features, I've got my MVP. Oh, I've just realized that I need to do testing. Maybe some test scenarios would be handy. So let's get a bit of a starter for 10 from this. Now, as a product owner, I'm not entirely sure what needs to be tested, but this can help me kind of get a view of, oh yeah, email, I need to test that. I need to test a download. I need to make sure I can store it, or speed would be a good idea. And then kind of other optional stuff. And I guess I could ask it about security and safety as well. And then lastly, because I know by now project managers are feeling they've been left out, the classic question is, what are the dependencies, what are the risks, what are the resource challenges or bottlenecks? Well, again, maybe ChatGPT can help me answer those so that I can answer the project manager's question, or at least it can trigger thinking for me as the product owner to think about those through. So it's mentioning resource challenges. I'm like, oh yeah, resource challenges, that's a problem. The art department's always slow. How long could I get away without needing the hero images or the wireframes? Give me a guess on that. So I think you can see from those, quick flies through. These tools are really good for helping you get going and helping you get through a lot of the grind. Likewise, the question I kind of would be asking you is, why are you ever taking meeting notes anymore? This is a solved problem. At Unfold, we never take meeting notes. We use Otter AI. It transcribes the meeting. It records the screen. It extracts the actions. It identifies the voice of the person who was speaking, so it knows who was saying what. It can snippet it. It can convert it to do list. It can convert it to tasks list. Okay. There is no reason to use that time now to be the poor soul writing up meetings. The problem is solved. You should just move on. This technology, although we're using Otter, by the end of the year, will be in Google, it will be in Zoom, it will be in Teams. there is no reason why you're giving up your valuable time on a non-value added task of writing up meeting notes. You may need to QA them, you may need to extract the appropriate actions and take calls, but just it's done. Meetings note taking is gone for good. So back to the drink, done. The data on this slide, the 40%, the key points around faster testing, refactoring, code completion, 92%. This is live data taken from the feedback from the Microsoft Copilot trials on GitHub and Visual Studio. Visual Studio Copilot for GitHub from Microsoft is the least well performing of the current AI support tools for coders. Current state of the art is an open source model called StarCoder. It's good though, and Microsoft will be really driving hard on this technology, and you'll see these similar completion copilots in Power BI, in Excel, in all sorts of places. So you really need to start to embrace this copilot, and the cost is it's like 20 quid per developer per month. So if you just think about that for a second, from a productivity point of view to a cost point of view, it's really a remarkable position. So I'm just going to pause and reflect. What have we talked about so far? We've talked about where we're on the adoption curve. We talked about the impact, 2 days, 24% of people are currently using it. We've talked about whereabouts could it add value across software delivery? Well, pretty much all phases of software delivery. Where should we focus it? We should focus it on the non-value add tasks like meeting notes, task organization. We should focus it on scheduling. These tools, which no one would miss ever doing, they're the equivalent in the change world of loading the dishwasher. They really are not adding value to the business or the change. We've learned that whilst it's powerful, AI is not equally good at every task. It's strong at some things and it's weak at others. The way to solve that problem is to use a mixture of experts. It's to pick the right tools to do the right job. So whilst it might be tempting to believe ChatGPT can do everything, it might be that for you, a specific code tool set from a third party or open source provides a better tool. It might be for you, AI for generative images is in Figma or is in Photoshop. It's not in Midjourney or somewhere else. That's going to change over time. The tools are constantly evolving. The more you can fine tune the use of the tool, the more you can work on the prompt and the inputs and output process for those tools, the better results you will get. There's greater experience and information coming out every week, providing insight and information on how to write better prompts, better tools, and how to make better use of this technology. And interestingly, open source is driving this rate of change, not the large tech companies. The large tech companies may well be commoditizing it and commercializing it, but actually, if you want to take a view of where leading edge is at, open source is by far the place. The next thing that you'll start to see in AI for software delivery is entirely autonomous software companies using a technology called AutoGen. This is where a collection of large language models, each one has a persona or a role and a task, and they sort of have a shared conversational bus where they iteratively, as a team, work to solve a problem. Right now, it can't solve really complicated problems, but just to put to perspective how big a bet people think that is, or they're open source, and the lead proponent of that is a thing called ChatDev. The one that's just been released is AutoGen. That's funded by Microsoft. It's open source by Microsoft. And the OpenAI conference in November, the 6th, I think it is rumored to be all about agents and autonomous use of AI to provide search and action-oriented process orientation. So this is basically the AI take on robotic process automation and RPM. So that will be another area where software delivery and change will greatly impact in what we do every day. So we're really at this changing of the tools. We're moving from a set of tools that we're used to, that we're familiar with, to a whole range of new tools. But as when the power tool revolution first came, some of these power tools are early. They're perhaps not as reliable, as interchangeable, or perhaps even as safe as they should be. But as someone jokingly said to me, today you're using the worst AI tools you will ever use. Every generation will be subsequently better, subsequently stronger. On the question on autogen, there's 2 or 3 frameworks which kind of do that. There's one that simulates like a village for interpersonal relationships, which is being used to run sort of like a marketing type company approach. And then there's one called ChatDev, and then there's Microsoft AutoGen, and there's another one called Agent X, and they're all similar kind of things. So if you have a bit of a Google around either of them, Itai, then you'll kind of find the ones. Or if you drop me an email later on, I'll send you a few links specifically to those. So these early tools, they're just going to get better. They're just going to get stronger, and they're going to become more feature rich. But just because the tool is being provided, that doesn't produce the change to get them into regular usage. It just provides the tool. The point of a change program is to go from having a tool to having a tool in use to generate value. So let's go back to well, if I'm not doing what I did for 2 days a week, well, what am I going to be doing? Now, here's the question, right? There's a thing called the lump of labor fallacy. And the lump of labor fallacy is that there's a finite amount of work that needs to be done in the world. So if we automate it, then what will we do? Well, it's a well-proven economic fallacy that that as we produce better technology, faster services, better products, the demand just increases on a cycle. And to that end, if there's anyone here who's in the portfolio or project management space or running a larger project, does anyone have an empty project backlog? Has anyone ever been in a position in recent years where the business request for IT has been below the capacity IT has to deliver? The answer is it's just not that way. There's a perpetual backlog of things that need to be done. If we could unlock the availability of our key resources to deliver against those for business benefit, then that's all to the good. So the reality is there's more than enough work to do, even if 2 days of what we were doing before is now being covered by automation. The other 60% can now expand to be a full value adding week. Are we going to do these projects? Absolutely are. ChatGPT is £20 per month for a knowledge worker. It saves 2 days per week. That's a 32,000% return on investment. I've been in project meetings where we've been discussing return on investment as 18 months before we make profit, and we've still done those projects. So if you don't think the CFO isn't interested in this, then you're mistaken. They're acutely interested in how to get productivity, and they're looking at it from 2 perspectives. They're looking at it from overall business operating cost and efficiency, and they're looking at it from an opportunity to unlock growth to address the marketplace. During the adoption curve phase, if your company is an early adopter or early majority before major majority, if you can deliver a 12-month lead on technology, it's likely that you will end up on a growth versus growth basis at 35% growth position versus your competitors. So 35% growth advantage is absolutely the kind of thing that both shareholders and CFOs, CEOs are looking at. So make no bones about it. There will be AI-driven change programs starting in 2024 and starting in Angra. I already know of one company that's put £14 million aside to put into AI investments in the next 24 months. So they're going to be coming. How's that going to look within the an AI software change portfolio. So the good news is there's going to be more projects. The bad news is they're going to be small projects. And we all know small projects over-index on the effort they need to be run. So we really need to think in software delivery and change, how to really lean down, and how to use AI itself to make the management and running of these small projects easier and more efficient. It's going to lean deep into shadow AI and shadow IT. There's going to be new tools, new security, new risks in the IS landscape. It's really important that IS does not try to stop the development and delivery of AI within the organization, because all that will happen is it will go underground into the organization. People will get it on their phones, they'll get it on their private laptops, and then you will lose any sense or any opportunity to provide guidance and control, and you'll step away from being the well-earned position of a trusted advisor to being a blocker to progress. It's paramount you embrace AI and you help it to be successful. The tool set will be AI tools. There will be a continued growth in the use of low-code tools, node-based programming, graphical flowchart-based programming, things like Make, N8N, Power Virtual Agents. All of that will start becoming more and more to the fore. Process automation and process mining will become much easier and much more natural language driven. And then finally, the use of generative data, both in ideation, testing and scenario planning, digital twins will be commonplace. A lot of these solutions will be citizen developer. They'll be produced by non-professional developers. They'll be produced by experienced senior business users. And the cycle times will be shorter and ever faster. I think you'll be looking at probably less than 8 or 12-week cycle times for AI small projects, because people will be wanting to iterate and get them very quickly. So in this hamster wheel of change of teams, I think there will be essentially 4 types of change delivery teams. And you should think about this when you're building your team structures and your mixed functional teams. So first of all, there will be mixed functional teams. They will span business unit and technology and change. You've got 4 basic approaches. You've got the innovation approach, your classic skunk works, fast fail, agile enterprise kind of mindset, the settlers and explorer thing, which we're all really used to. The key thing here is making a safe space for fast failure and learning, but also addressing the risk and guardrails for any kind of public AI facing solution. About a month ago, a supermarket in Australia produced a chatbot that allowed you to ask for recipes. You could ask it for recipes from anything that the supermarket sold. Unfortunately, they forgot that the supermarket also sold things like bleach. So you could ask for a recipe for a bleach cookie, and it dutifully would try and make one. Now that's a classic case of no guardrail or poor red team testing. You really need to be thinking about that with AI. The second is AI becomes a business-wide transformation in the style of a digital transformation. These will be longer, more structured projects, but probably built out of small building blocks. I don't think they're going to take 15 years like digital transformation did. I think it's going to be less than 5. The second, so the third will be a renovation type approach. This will be upgrades to ERPs, upgrades to infrastructural software, Windows and the like, to bring in the co-fits, the co-pilots and the tools within those large free licensed products. However, bringing in the tools into these large platforms without bringing in the process change and the communication and the training of what these new features can do will just result in an expensive but ineffective upgrade. You won't get anywhere near the 40 or 60% opportunity by just taking a renovation approach. So I think whilst renovation feels tempting, it's likely to be the least successful. And then the final will be AI will create some radical reinvention, the same way as Let's Eat did, Uber did, Airbnb did. They will generate new business models that were not previously available. probably in the space of deep personalization for product manufacture to one, customer service to one, highly tailored products, highly tailored learning. I think education is actually a sector that is highly likely to be radically reinvented from AI. So where does this add up to? Well, this adds up to, this is the largest, most significant change of tools and working methods for knowledge workers since the launch of Excel in 1991. Without a doubt, it's as fundamental as the delivery of Windows interfaces, of Excel, of that whole Office work suite, of business computing as an entity. It's more significant than cloud. It's a fundamental rebuild of tools. And in the next 5 years, if someone isn't skilled in using AI, it will be akin to asking someone why they can't use email today or they can't use a text message. It's literally going to transform the way we work on everything. So I guess that just leaves me to answer the question from the beginning. I'm hoping by now you've kind of got to where I believe we are. So what is the impact of AI in software delivery, in change management? I think it can be summarized to just 3 letters: big. Thank you. That's kind of where I've got to now. And let's have a look through some of the questions. Hopefully I've addressed some questions, and hopefully I've left you with some more ideas and things to think about.
Hi there, Jeff Watts here. And like me, I'm sure you loved that session because it's another example of becoming great at Agile. We're proud to sponsor Agile Northants here at Agile Mastery Institute because, like us, the people of Agile Northants know that mastery matters. And we're on a mission to make Agile certification meaningful. We want to change the paradigm so that when people think of Agile certification, they think of a pathway of actual, real, deep learning over time. Not just learning good practice, but reflecting on that practice and tailoring the learning to the context of the learner. So at Agile Mastery Institute, we don't just offer 2-day classes. We offer at least 6 months worth of support, a combination of classroom, of coaching sessions, and community support. So you know that you will get some great practice content and theory and skills development, but also you will be able to direct that learning through your bespoke coaching sessions over the course of at least 6 months. This will help you in your role, it'll help your employers, it'll help your teams, and it'll help regain respect for Agile certification throughout the industry. So if you believe Agile certification matters, then come along to one of our cohorts. We've got licensed guides around the world offering flexible programs over time zones and cadence. Check out agilemasteryinstitute.com for your options. And I've personally got a few cohorts coming up where if you're quick and you use the code NORTHMASTERY, then you could get up to 25% off, but you have to be quick to get those discounts. If you've got any questions about any of it, how the pathways work, how it could work for you, how it could work for your organization, then just drop me a note and I'll happily explain more. But until then, keep on doing great Agile.